Hello mortals, I am the BookTube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. Now, as some of you may know, I have gotten a mystery box of fantasy books before, which I'll link up here, and it didn't go so well. So I'd asked some of you if you would like me to do this again. Most of you said,
"Why not? It's your money."
So I looked online and I found a mystery lot of 10 sci-fi books, science fiction and fantasy, it says. And it's about $15 with $5 in shipping. There's a picture of a bunch of books, but I think this is just an example. But 10 books, $20 with shipping. It's about $2 a book. Smoke-free home with cats. It's fine. So it looked like a good deal compared to some of the other mystery book lots, so I went ahead and ordered it. And guess what? The books arrived. Now it's not a box, obviously it's a bag. It looks like it's a reused, recycled Amazon bag, which I am not mad at, but it feels like there are 10 books in this bag. So I'm kind of excited. I'm have a little bit of trepidation considering my past history with mystery book boxes. But anyway, it's a small pocket Roald Dahl book. But I have a good feeling about this. I'm wondering how many science fiction and fantasy books that I've read. I'm kind of hoping there are no middle grade books because I specifically did not order 10 middle grade fantasy books, which is what I got before. And let's go ahead and open it. Okay, reaching into the bag, the first book I get is oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite books. I have read this. It's Storm Constantine's Enchantments of Flesh and Spirit. It is sort of a gothic punk queer book from the 1980s. Highly recommend it. I've read it before, but I'm not unhappy to have gotten it. Next up is a skinny book, Dragon Drums by Anne McCaffrey. This is another one of my favorite authors. She writes, now the I almost said Dragonlance. The Dragon Riders of Pern series is actually a science fiction series about human settlers on a planet whose natives look like dragons and they can psychically bond with it. This looks almost like a novella. It's very thin. I don't know if I've read this or not. And it's an old cover. I really like it. It's from 1980. Very good year. Next. Harry Turtledove. This is another science fiction author that I'm familiar with. I know I must have read something by him before. I just can't remember what. Just love this illustration. It is so retro. And this is Earth Grip, Tales from the Trader's World. So I haven't read this before. I don't know what the Trader's World is. I can't remember what I've read by Harry Turtledove. Jennifer Logan was young, gorgeous, and utterly dedicated to teaching Middle English. But to qualify for any decent teaching position, she'd have to make her resume stand out. Since her specialty was science fiction, has a writer put himself as the main character? I don't know. She wrangled a berth on a trading ship bound for the stars. Just one trip, she figured, then back to a nice, safe classroom. Okay, I'm really curious about this one. Are you curious? Let me know in the comments which one of these books you would want to read. Next book. '13th Legion by Gay Thorpe, a Warhammer novel. Not really interested in this one. It's a military fantasy, science fiction. I don't know. It's Warhammer 40,000. Warhammer, if you don't know, is known for its miniatures and wargaming system. So I guess they licensed out this book. Don't know the author. Not really interested in this one. Next up, Saturnalia by Grant Callan. Never heard of this book, never heard of this author. Doesn't say much on the back, but it's kind of cool. But there is a little recommendation by David Bren, who is a science fiction author I like a lot. He wrote The Uplift Wars. Professor Curious White Dimple, what a name, Curious White Dimple, was an unassuming teacher of archaeology at Space Home University. Possessor of a boring life and a boring future, Junior Badil was a 20-year-old wrinkled gnome with an improbably high IQ, living with his parents in an isolated research station. And these two meet and share a big adventure. I don't know. Have you heard of this book? Never heard of it. Maybe I'll give the first chapter a try, and then I'll let you know. Next book is Craig Mills' Shadow of the Crown. Again, I don't know this author. I don't know this book. Kemp wanted no part in the plot to restore the exiled king, but he couldn't say no to the demon's master. Ooh. Looks like a typical fantasy, or is it science fiction? Sounds like a fantasy. It says fantasy on the spine. So, who knows? Now, even though I'm getting a lot of books I know nothing about, this is what I expected from the last mystery box where I didn't get these types of books. Again, the seller said they were science fiction or fantasy, so I'm happy that there's a mix. Next up, Escape the Stars by Robert Hoskins. Ooh, this is another old-looking retro book. And I like that back in the 80s, 70s, they weren't really interested in the huge, thick books. These are skinny books. You could probably read this in, a couple days. The print isn't terribly small, and it is a Del Rey book. So the cover looks fantasy, but it says it's science fiction. The race chase. It began when free soiler, plunderer James Aragus, I assume maybe a Han Solo type, and his beautiful business partner set out to bilk the unsuspecting denizens of the backwater planet Walango. It got complicated, it moved into high gear, and it finally exploded. Okay, so this is a heist book set in the future. I'm going to make a guess that these high-tech con artists are trying to rip off a low-tech planet. So it's giving me vibes of Six of Crows, Liza Locke-Lamora, of course more science fiction-y, so sounds interesting. Next book is, it's a little bigger, Prince of Sparta by Jerry Pournelle and S.M. Sterling. Now, Jerry Pournelle, I know I've read some of his collaborations with Larry Niven. I don't know if you've heard of The Moat in God's Eye. Fantastic science fiction story. Oh dear, this is a part 2. A novel of Falkenberg's Legion. So this is a science fiction space opera, looks like, or military science fiction. There's a nice map in it. I think this is a second book of a series, so probably not going to read this one. And I recognize the name S.M. Sterling, but it's not ringing a bell of what he's written or she's written. But interesting. And by the way, I don't dislike military science fiction. I'm a big fan of Honor Harrington, but haven't heard of this. Okay, there's only 2 books left. The Invisible Company by Scott Russell Sanders. The game had no rules and its life was the price of admission. Now this looks like a high-concept science fiction story. Haven't heard of it, don't know the author. Professor Leon Ash is living on borrowed time, and the clock just ran out. He is on a plane bound for Paradise Island, an exclusive playground for the fabulously wealthy. He has unlimited credit and no idea how he got there. So, it's a little mystery. Sounds interesting. It's a Tom Doherty tour book. Maybe I'll give it a try. And the final book is The Night Watch by Sean Stewart. I have a feeling this is not about Game of Thrones. Award-winning author of Mockingbird. Gosh, I don't know this author, don't know this book. It's definitely science fiction, ace science fiction. It is 2074. Magic has been in the world for as long as anyone can remember and has taken over. Children are sacrificed to gods and ghosts. Man-made machines have conquered the inner cities, and those who enter the forest are never seen again. So it's a pretty cover. I like the white owl. There's a moon with a little medallion down here. And there's some positive blurbs from Locust, New York Times Book Review, and William Gibson. Kind of interested in this one. So there you have it. 10 science fiction fantasy books I got on eBay in a mystery box. Cost me about $20, including shipping. So the books are around $2 each. And I am pretty satisfied with it. My last book box was such a disaster. I was really nervous about what I would get on this one. But this is exactly the type and mix of books I was hoping for. There's science fiction and fantasy. There's authors I know. There's authors I have no idea about. And the authors I know, I haven't, with one or two exceptions, I haven't read these books yet. So, what do you think? What book would you be interested in reading? I'll try to research these books a little bit more and maybe put an Amazon or Goodreads link to them down below, because I know they're probably obscure to many of you, especially if they're obscure to me. And let me know in the comments if you want me to do another mystery book box. This was a little harder to find than last time. I don't know why, but if you're interested in more mystery book boxes, please let me know. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.